Hogwarts Legacy, PS5 version. Um, it's a pretty late review. This game's been out for a while. I didn't get this game right away, and I'm really notoriously slow at finishing video games these days. I like to do as much as you can in the game before I beat it. So, like all the side quests, all the collectibles, so it usually takes me that much longer before I complete the game and give a full opinion on it. I ended up giving this game a 2.5 out of 5. It was fairly mediocre. I think its biggest salvaging point is that it is in the Wizarding world, the Harry Potter universe. Depending how much you are into that will affect your mileage with this game. If you're real hardcore in the Harry Potter stuff, I think you have a lot of fun with this, and going through the castle and dealing with house elves and all the different spells and whatnot. You're somewhere like in the middle, like me. Like I've watched all the movies, including the Fantastic Beasts series. I think I've seen some of the movies more than once, but for the most part, I'm not really that into it. But it was fine. I enjoyed it for what it was. So I enjoyed playing that little sandbox for the game. If you're not into the Harry Potter games, then you're gonna base this game on just its own merits. I don't think you were gonna really get into it too much. It just feels like a throwback. Feels like this game could have been made a couple years ago. It would have been a pretty phenomenal game. But the way technology has advanced since then, it falls flat in a lot of ways. I think graphically it's just so. Like they didn't go for a realistic look. I don't know. It's not even like a cartoony look. It's just not. Doesn't look as good as the game this late in this PlayStation 5 game could look. I don't know if it was purely a stylistic thing or what, but not that the graphics looked bad. It just they didn't look that great. Just little things like the NPCs. You got all kinds of people walking the neighborhoods, or lots of kids in Hogwarts doing magic in the background, but you really can't interact with anybody unless it's like a quest. They're just kind of there in the background. It's like you can't bump into them. You can't just attack them with a spell and face the consequences for it. Like they're just not really. They might as well just be like a chair in the background or something. They're a non-factor. It's just set dressing. It kind of takes you out of it. Really, for the most part, I feel like I'm walking this big castle by myself. And then when you go to the towns, it seems like pretty sparsely populated. And they said they have conversations, but you can't interact with anybody. The only thing that kind of makes the game come to life a little bit is you'll see like the Dark Wizards and the Poachers hanging out. By the way, this is a spoiler review. If I haven't mentioned that. I haven't gotten any major spoilers yet. It's going to be in the title that it's a spoiler review, but if you want to read the non-spoiler version, it's on my blog, soundofbettermyhead.com. I'm not going to go too nuts with spoilers, but there might be some stuff in here you didn't want to know without playing the game. But anyways, you encounter poachers and whatnot, and you'll see them. Sometimes they'll be fighting spiders or trolls or dark mongrels, so it's like two different classes of enemies still fighting each other. So you at least feel like those guys are interacting. Like if you didn't show up, they'd still be having this battle, which kind of fleshes that out a little bit. It's a pretty big map. I'm pretty surprised how big it is. There's not a lot to do quest-wise. Like it's just more for exploration, which is fine. But luckily, the fast travel system is phenomenal. You unlock a fast travel point, and there's quite a few of them. You could just go to your map, select where you want to go, and click the button, and you go there. So that's really helpful. Even when you do got to travel normally, once you get the broom and you unlock the broom, you could fly pretty quickly from point A to point B, and you just skip all the monsters and dark wizards. You just fly over everything, so that's nice. Riding the broom itself is nothing special. It doesn't feel like you're soaring through the sky in a magic broom. It just feels like you're just kind of above everything and just moving in a straight line. Even when you do like the races with the broom, it's just nothing special. It's like a time trial, so you're not really racing people, and the room's not maneuverable, so it's just a chore doing it. Like I only did as much as I had to finish those quests. And a related note, some of the other mechanics are screwy. Like you don't do a lot of jumping in the game. It's mostly casting spells, but a few times you got to. It's like it's a little wonky, and it's kind of hard to judge your jumps. And then when you do like the wizard trials, you got to land on like these platforms sometimes, the Merlin trials, these certain platforms, without falling off, and like you'll land and you'll take like an extra step and turn it all funky. It's like it's real awkward, and that makes it more challenging than it should be. And the few times you gotta swim, which are mostly exploring a side quest, you swim slow as all hell. Like he does this side stroke, and I thought maybe since he had a hand kind of free, he was gonna be using it for his wand, but no, he just swims really slow, and there's no way to do it any faster. A lot of the side quests, there's some good ones. Some of it gets a little repetitive, but not too badly. Sometimes you just start like a side quest, they'll be like, meet so-and-so, and you talk to them, and like not much happens. They'll go, I'll talk to you when I find out more, and that's like the end of the quest. Especially like the relationship quests, as they call them. The main quest itself is pretty solid. It's pretty well, even without all the Harry Potter, trimming. It's a decent quest. It's predictable. Like pretty quickly, you kind of figure out what's going on. And it's like kind of amazing. Like none of their characters figure it out until pretty late in the game. But it's a solid quest. Combat with the wands takes a little getting used to, but once you do, it's pretty good. You got your typical movie, just blast energy at people, but you got your different spells, and then the enemies will usually have shielding, and it'll be different colors, so you got to use a certain type of spell to get through the shielding first. And once you understand that, and you're able to switch, because you can bring up a little HUD, you pick like 4 spells you want to keep on there, and you can just pick one of those spells and use it pretty quickly. It's pretty intuitive once you get it going. Then you could also unlock other spell wheels, so if you don't like that, you bring up another set, and then you just use those 4 spells. And then there's another wheel you could put potions and like attack plants on there. It's a little awkward bringing them up, and then once you bring them up, you still got to hit the button again. I didn't use them very often. If anything, I hit them by accident more than I actually tried to use them, but they actually do have their uses. Some of the once you get to like the collectibles, it gets really repetitive. Like you have one in the castle where you find this special mirror, and it shows you a location. You find this like butterfly or moth, and you lead it back to the picture mirror thing, and you unlock the collectible. And it's the first couple times it's pretty interesting, but after that it's just the same thing over and over again. Find where it's hiding, lead it all the way back. At least the Revelio pages, when you use them, you find like lore and like the history of the castle, so that's cool. And the castle seems like packed with stuff. Every time you turn a corner, there's like something there to look at. So the castle is pretty well detailed. I don't know how it compares to like the movie version of, but it looks pretty good. What else? The Merlin trials get pretty repetitive as well. There's only like so many variants, and it just starts to be like, well, it's the same thing but a little bit harder. The same thing, you got to walk a little bit farther. You got to go over and bring these moths over, and instead of just a straight path, you got to climb up a little rocky hill, or you got to walk really far, and it gets old, and it's just like. And the thing with the Merlin trials is the game has the most ridiculously limited space for gear. Like you can find different gear. Either you can enchant it later in the game, or it's already enchanted if it's like more stronger gear. But you open a couple chests and get some gear, and you open a chest, and all of a sudden right away it's telling you that you're out of space, and that you either need to sell it or complete the Merlin trials, which, like I said, if you complete enough Merlin trials, you start unlocking more spaces, but it takes a lot of trials just to unlock a handful of spaces, and then eventually you run out of trials, and even before you run out of trials, you completed the challenge, and you can't unlock any more spaces. So you end up. And it doesn't tell you what's in that chest. You open a chest, it says your inventory is full, so you can either just come back later, or you can destroy one piece of your equipment, and you don't know that what's in there is any better. Like you might destroy something decent because you don't got room, and then you find garbage. And I think it's just most unbelievably frustrating. Another pain in the ass is when you're shooting energy blasts with your wand, you tend to take a couple steps forward. So you're fighting this big troll, and you want to keep your distance. You're slowly shuffling towards him, or you might be on like a ledge, and you're taking enemies down from below, and you just like next thing you know you're falling off the ledge because you scooted forward too far. The game's interesting because it gives you an option to skip all the dark magic, like even the trophies. You don't have to learn all those spells to get the all spells trophy, but they come in handy. The thing is, the game you're killing all the bad guys anyway, as far as I can tell. and then you just kind of yell something stupid afterwards, like, "Whoa, Ragnarok lost one more follower," or "That's what you get for being evil," or something along those lines. So to me, it's not a big deal to turn around and hit him with like the killing curse. It's just whatever. As far as the collectibles too, it's barely worth unless you're like a completionist. It's not really worth the effort to go through and try to get them all. They don't really add that much to the gameplay. Like I said, a lot of us just you can make whatever gear you got look a certain way. Like you want the leprechaun hat instead of whatever hat you really got, which is just cosmetic basically, or stuff you can put in your room of requirement. And the worst is if you're trying to get or you're trying to platinum trophy this game, you get do your playthrough, you get everything you can get, and you'll still find that those 3 hidden trophies, and then come to find out you have to get to a certain point in the game as a member of each different house. So basically you start off as a house, whatever house you pick, like I picked Ravenclaw, beat the game. I would have to go back and play as Slytherin, get to that certain point, quit, start another game, play as Hufflepuff. So you have to do all 4 houses, and someone calculated online that even if you cut out all the cutscenes, it's still 2 hours. So if you really like the game and you want to go play different houses, great. But if you're like a normal person, it's not happening. And the creative character is so. Like, it's hard to make a character look like you. See, now I got like a pretty big beard here. There's no option for facial hair because you're supposed to be kind of like a teenager. So I tried to make my character look like me in high school. I kind of did. I tried to tweak the voice a little bit, and I ended up making this weird metallic, echoey sound to it that you hear the other characters talk, and they sound like normal people, and then my guy sounded like a robot. But I can't think there's anything else I really want to get into about the game. I said it's just fine. If you liked Harry Potter, I think you're going to enjoy the game. The more you enjoy Harry Potter stuff, the more I think you're going to like the game. If you don't like that stuff, I think the game's just pretty fair at best. I also don't think the game's good enough to lure in Harry Potter fans into playing video games just so they could experience it. I think if you're into the Potter games, the books, and not video games, and you try to play this, you're like, it's not. It's something I'm not going to get into. But I think that's about it. I'm sure I've got a ton of stuff I wanted to gripe about, but it's not really worth doing too much on this game. Other than that, I said I got the non-spoiler version up on my blog. I got other reviews on there for video games, not just video games, but movies and TV shows. Got my comic strip, so if you want to check that stuff out, go for it. Other than that, thanks for watching.